Hi there. Here we are back at Module 7. This module will be devoted to understanding properly managing diversity. We'll also be spending the second portion of our module evaluating effective programs. Let's start with defining our concepts of diversity. Diversity is the presence of differences among members of a social unit that lead to perceptions of such differences and that impact work outcomes. Today, diversity refers to far more than skin color and gender. It is a broad term used to refer to all kinds of differences. Let's discuss some dimensions or characteristics of diversity. Those dimensions are listed on our left-hand side and include such things as gender, ethnicity, culture, religion, and lifestyle. Group characteristics are considered on our right-hand column. They include ethnographic descriptors. Those are such things as nationality, religion, and language. We have demographic descriptors. Those encompass our age, gender, and place of residence. We have status descriptors. Those are social, economic, and educational background. Our sexual orientation descriptors consider heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual. And we have a range of other descriptors relating to formal or informal membership or affiliations, such as functional specializations and part-time or full-time status. Let's also consider our 4 categories of diversity: informational, social category, value, and functional. Informational diversity refers to differences in knowledge and perspectives that members bring to the group. And this may arise from differences in education, experience, and expertise. Social category diversity is born out of membership in specific social categories, such as race and gender. Our value diversity occurs when members of a work group differ in terms of what they think the group's real task, goal, target, or mission should be. And lastly, our functional diversity is diverse orientations regarding what activities are important and how they should be carried out. Managing diversity can be a huge benefit. First of all, ways that we can think about managing diversity include recognizing differences as well as similarities among our people. It also is a consideration that we realize each person has unique qualities and they contribute to the total effort of the organization. Finally, it's important to capitalize on our unique features and use them for productivity and effectiveness. We can take advantage of our diversity. This can be done by considering diversity in the marketplace, thinking about niche markets or market segmentation. A diverse sport organization may open up that organization to global economies. More specifically, as we think about those specific sport organizations, we recognize that players from other countries allow for a diverse workplace, but also the ability to open up our organization to other markets. In addition, there's promotion of friendship and education. Diversity promotes this. These are ways to consider managing diversity and using it to benefit those involved in the organization and those outside the organization. It's important to recognize that there are benefits to managing diversity, but there are also some costs of managing diversity, or maybe we could say there are costs for mismanaging diversity. One of the first benefits we will recognize with managing diversity is there is revenue enhancement. As we saw in our prior slide, diversity opens us up, or an organization, to other markets, whether they're globally or locally. In addition, effective market strategies also enhance diversity or are a benefit. This simply refers to selling to increasingly diverse consumers. With that, then, a benefit of diversity is a diverse workforce. This helps with improved problem solving and decision making, as well as creativity and innovation. On the other side, there are costs for managing diversity. First, there's a realistic cost of accommodating diverse workers, whether that's through training or resources. The remaining 4 may be those costs associated with mismanaging or not dealing properly with diversity. Inefficient communication will cost a company. Unresolved issues in intergroup dynamics. Employee dissatisfaction as related to those intergroup dynamics may result in absenteeism and turnover. And furthermore, if those intergroup dynamics persist, it may result in discomfort, resistance, and conflicts. Please note that there are many benefits when we manage diversity. However, there are some costs to mismanaging diversity. There are a couple of key perspectives on managing diversity: affirmative action, valuing diversity, and managing diversity. Affirmative action is a governmental policy aimed at eliminating discrimination effects of managerial policies and practices. Valuing diversity refers to, first, genuinely accepting diversity as given, recognizing the advantages of a diverse workforce, and clearly understanding the benefits of diversity can be derived only through appropriate managerial practices. Third, managing diversity implies that the organizational interventions that fall within the realm of this label on ensuring that the variety of talents and perspectives that already exist within an organization are well utilized. Please consider Exhibit 13.2 as in your text, as it does a great job of making distinctions among affirmative action, valuing differences, and managing diversity. I want us to address this concept of learning process for diversity competency. It's a realization that a process of learning leads to an ability to effectively respond to the challenges and opportunities posed by the presence of social, cultural diversity in a defined social system. This is a learned process. It is often done in stages of awareness, understanding, and action. There are a number of options for handling diversity. Not all of them are positive. I've listed some here. We can first think about inclusion or exclusion. Again, not all positive. Second, this concept of denial. This is where essentially decision makers refuse to acknowledge differences. There also can be an option of assimilation. This isn't always positive either, where typically this can ask for the diverse groups to conform to dominant norms, not always a fair way to handle diversity. Suppression, also asking someone to forget about their diverse characteristics, also not a positive way for handling diversity. Isolation is a way to reduce the complexity, and it oftentimes asks people to isolate by race, gender, or other characteristics. Tolerate is where the managers operate under this option, acknowledging gender and racial differences, perhaps because of affirmative action, but not necessarily, again, a positive approach. Our last two approaches for handling diversity move towards thinking about diversity as a positive approach. The first, building relationship, reflects a manager's efforts to manage diversity effectively. And then obviously the most advanced option for this is fostering mutual adaptation. It's learning and adapting to different groups. Proactive diversity management has positive outcomes for both the organization and the individual within the organization. Let's talk first about those organizational outcomes. First, proactive diversity management often results in retention and attraction for employees. In addition, it will attract a diverse customer and fan base. Management will help avoid lawsuits with proactive diversity management, and furthermore, this will result in a diverse workforce. Individuals also benefit from a proactive diversity management. It allows them to be creative. There's involvement in decision making. This will result in satisfied employees and ultimately a more productive organization. Our next slide considers an integrated framework for managing diversity. This takes into consideration elements, competence, various forms of diversity at the surface and/or deep level, diversity management strategies, task factors, and time factors. Additionally, there are strategies for managing diversity in the context of sports. Specifically, those are that valuing diversity, which is the top, that accommodation at the bottom left, that's that surface level diversity, and then that activation, which is on the kind of the bottom right, that is your deep level diversity. I want us to finish off our discussion of diversity with this concept of actualization. Actualization refers to the organization as a whole, including its members and groups, attaining its full potential. In sum, the concept of actualization refers to the management's relative success in optimizing individual potential, enhancing quality of life for all, and thus increasing organizational productivity. We are going to move on from our discussion on diversity to talk about program evaluation. This slide displays categories of performance evaluation. We can think about that based upon performance appraisal or the individual. We can think program evaluation, which applies specifically to a unit or program. And then we can think about organizational effectiveness, which will apply specifically to the organization as a whole. This is also exhibited in 14.1 in your text for further viewing. Let's define our next key concept. This is programs. Programs are a group of related projects coordinated and managed to obtain benefits that would not be realized if managed individually. Furthermore, programs can be defined as a manifestation of the planning process. Program development means converting value choices into concrete directions for action by choosing from among alternatives and allocating resources to achieve defined goals. Let's make sure we differentiate between programs and projects. Programs are those sets of activities carried out on a continuing basis. Projects are more temporary. They could be converted into a regular program at a later point, however. Recall that our programs are a set of activities carried out on a continuing basis. Now I want to examine programs across various organizations and sectors. We'll be looking at public and nonprofit, commercial and profit sector. First, public and nonprofit. These are intended to improve conditions of targeted groups and benefit society at large. A couple of examples of these may be the NFL's Play 60 campaign or the NCAA's programs to support student athletes. Canada also has a participation initiative that they also would consider a public or nonprofit program. Typically, those are often initiated by government funding or private funding. Okay, next organizational sector, commercial and profit. This can be seen from media relation campaigns, advertising campaigns, as well as sponsorships. The distinction, they're seeking profit. Our third program in various organization sectors are small organization. Efforts and funding may be smaller than those of our larger organizations, but spending may be significant when considered as a percentage of the organization's overall budget. These typically can fall under both that public and nonprofit as well as that commercial sector. I want to return you to think about Module 2. I know, it seems like it was forever ago. That module was started off by discussing how we could view organizations by a systems view. This slide takes that systems view and applies it to a program. Programs may have resources, activities, and outputs. Additionally, the systems may be that input, throughput, or output, and the ultimate thing is an impact or effect. Look back on Module 2 to think about just briefly that systems view of an organization and how it comes into play here as we evaluate it based upon a program. In the previous slide, we talked about outputs and impacts, so let's discuss these just a bit more here. Outputs are those direct effects, and they're the outcomes of a program. We also saw this when we talked about the systems view of an organization. They can be both intended and unintended results. Impact, on the other hand, effects may be beyond those intended outputs. Typically, they're unintended pieces that impact, again, they can be both positive or negative, the program. Okay, now that we have gotten our concept of program down, let's move on to talk about program evaluation. This is the systematic assessment of program results and systematic assessment of the extent to which the program caused those results. It includes process evaluations, which assess the extent to which a program has been implemented as intended. What are those things or questions that need to be addressed or considered in a program evaluation? I've listed those here. Did the program achieve its goals or reach its intended outcomes? Were the activities carried out in accordance with specifications? Were the objectives achieved because of the program's activities or because of some other factor? And was the program cost effective? So what's the purpose of a program evaluation? I've listed them here. Accountability and credibility. It also helps to improve upon performance. It indicates whether the program is cost effective. It determines whether the participants are safe, whether when taking part in the program. It gives us some information about the breadth of those programs as well as the accessibility of those programs. In short, a proper evaluation of a program can provide information to the administrators for more informed decision making. It clarifies the program in logic for its users, service providers, and administrators, and it offers advanced information for any proposals to new programs. An effective way to begin an evaluation is to create a program profile. This is a description of the program that includes background information, structure and processes of the program, and expected outcomes and impacts. The elements of a program profile include such things as activities to be carried out, the personnel, the distribution of the responsibilities and authority, the expected outcomes of the program as well as their impact, and then the relationship among goals, resources, processes, and outcomes. There are a number of advantages of a program profile. They include such things as the fact that the evaluator can determine program logic. It distinguishes the program's structural and process attributes from expected outcomes. And it also demonstrates goals and objectives, links between ends and means, and the cause and effect relationship of instituting the program. What are our standards for evaluation? That is, it's critical to decide on the standards for which our program will be judged to be effective. I have listed 8 standards of evaluation here in this slide. We'll discuss each of them individually. Meeting objectives is our first standard we'll talk about. Excuse me. If a program is defined by its intention to achieve certain objectives, then the effectiveness can best be judged by the extent to which we do indeed set or meet those objectives. Next are the standards set by experts. We can evaluate our program based upon standards set by experts in the field. They may be accrediting bodies. Maybe they're a legal system. Those are standards set by experts, and that's an additional way we can evaluate our program. Next is professional judgment. That is, one or more professionals may be asked to determine whether a program is effective. Socioeconomic evaluation. Some programs are simply instituted to serve the public at large equitability. So any judgment of the program's effectiveness, therefore, should consider whether the extension of the facilities and services met the needs of different communities. Accessibility and safety. If a program is established for the benefit of the public or a specific segment of the public, it's necessary that the program be accessible and safe to those in that sector. Cost benefit. This is the essence that the standard is that the benefits accruing from a program should indeed exceed the cost of the program. 7th, cost effectiveness. Was the money used, effective in benefiting the organization program? And then lastly, client satisfaction. If a program is carried out for the benefit of a specific group, then it stands to reason that those clients should be the ultimate arbitrators of the program. They would be the ones evaluating the success of that program. We have reached the end of Module 7. Here are our questions for review. Take some time to review your knowledge on diversity as well as program evaluations by answering these questions.